Hello, once again. My name is Kompazekos. I'm the president of ACES. Now, ACES stands for the Australian Classical Education Society. Today, I want to bring to your attention another book which is called Norms and Nobility, a treatise on education written by David V. Hicks. Now, this book was published in 1981 in America and is a very, very popular book in the classical renewal movement. Now, I'd like to read a few quotes from this book called Classical Education, the Movement Sweeping America. I'd like to read some passages from this book which talk about the book that I just showed you, Norms and Nobility, and then I'll be sharing some good news. Education, argues Hicks, used to be very different from the conventional activities practiced in its name. The present clash is between the normative and the analytical. In the ancient world, teachers and students learned together in an atmosphere dominated by what David Hicks calls the ideal type. The ideal type is an image of the fully developed human being. Because educators accepted the ideal as a model or prototype, their instruction was aimed at cultivating within individuals what we now call the whole person. The educational ideal informed what the individual aspired to become. It expressed what religion taught as God's will for mankind, and it incorporated the most elevated components of what classical culture held up for admiration. The rise of modern philosophy changed all that. The ideal type was replaced by scientific method, which reduced the reality of the ideal to the particularity of atomized individuals whose traits could be measured. Descartes, according to Hicks, led the philosophical attack on the spirit of classical education by arguing that education ought to concern itself only with ideas that are precise and certain beyond any possibility of doubt. This redefinition of man's humanity, what C.S. Lewis called the abolition of man, excluded the rich complexities of the spirit, will, conscience, and moral character from the realm of education. The most important dimensions of human life were no longer considered valid subjects for the great conversation of the liberal arts curriculum unless they could be made consistent with the new scientific method. Religion, history, and literature courses were no longer expected to tell the truth about man's nature and purposes. At best, they commented on the misconceptions of those who had not yet attained the certainties of the quantitative sciences. A new education and philosophical language developed to reflect the new scientific theory. It was the non-normative language of materialism, utilitarianism, and pragmatism. With it, one discussed the tangible, the finite, and the material. The new methods, which Hicks summarizes under the term analytical, agreed that the intangible, infinite, and immaterial were literally inconceivable. Because modern education theory draws heavily on the legacy of modern scientific philosophy, Hicks observes that it ignores anything that cannot be precisely measured. By definition, the infinite is beyond measurement, as are ethical truths, creativity, and human worth. Contemporary proponents of the modern school boldly promise to save society if only their ways are adopted, thus importing their dogma. But Hicks answers that education policies built solely around attempts to measure and quantify learning, from standardized tests to government policies like NAPLAN, will continue to fail because they exclude the intangible qualities of personality and character that make up the human spirit. The goal of the modern school, says Hicks, is to prepare students for a materially efficient existence, for the achievement of selfish and tangible personal ends. This kind of education also serves the needs of the state and the economy. To promote these goals, students are taught facts, knowledge that is precise, certain, and limited. They are also taught programs, or rather, they are programmed in repetitive and highly functional techniques to perform roles necessary for the smooth running of society. So those passages come from this book, which I outlined in a few previous videos. Now, the good news is that if you would like to be part of a reading group that reads this book, then there is a great opportunity. Kepler Education in America is offering something called Preceptorials. I'll just repeat that word, Preceptorials. Now you might be wondering, what on earth does Preceptorials mean? I'll tell you. Preceptorials emphasize independent reading, discussion in small groups, and individual conferences with the teacher or professor. Each preceptorial will consist of 2 live online sessions for 1.5 hours. The readings must be done in advance. Mini lectures will also be shared in advance of the live sessions, and an online quiz will also be given as part of the final assessment. So if you're interested in being part of a preceptorial 2 sessions about this book, please note down the following dates. Now, I'm talking first about Australia. For Australians, it will be Saturday, February the 11th, from 10:30 a.m. until 12 o'clock p.m. Plus, Saturday, February 18, again from 10:30 to 12 p.m. If you live in America, this preceptorial will be offered on Friday, the 10th of February, and Friday the 17th of February from 6:30 to 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So this is a wonderful opportunity to Americans, to Australians, to read and to learn about this book. Now, one final thing, this preceptorial will be presented from Dr. Robert Woods. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Dr. Robert Woods, who is part of Kepler Education. Dr. Woods has been a classical educator for more than 25 years. He has a BA in Religious Studies from Point University, an MA in Religious Studies from Barry University, and a PhD in Humanities from Florida State University. He is currently a candidate for the DA in Social Sciences from Harrison Middleton University. He is a frequent consultant in classical education, specifically on Mortimer Adler's Paideia approach to classical education, which some Australians undertook last year with him, and we thank him. He is also the author of Mortimer Adler's The Paideia Way of Classical Education, and also the soon-to-be published Neither Angel Nor Beast, Thinking Classically and Christianly About the Social Sciences Tradition. So Dr. Woods is an exceptional presenter, and he will be leading this preceptorial. So once again, I thank you for your time. I apologize for this rather long video, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in these sessions. And one final thing, if you don't have this book, that is fine. PDF readings will be provided from this book. So there's no need to stress if you don't have a hard copy of this book. Until then, may God bless you and take care.